Hello, friends, and welcome back to our homestead. Today, I would like to share with you my recipe of this beautiful and festive holiday cake, Napoleon cake with a twist. So, I'm going to start by making the decorations first. I'm going to make a simple syrup. And don't worry about writing down any of the ingredients right now because I will list everything in a description box. So, simple syrup, just some water and sugar, and we're going to bring it to a boil to make a nice and very syrupy sweet syrup. That's where we're going to be coating all of the cranberries. I bought 2 bags of cranberries. 1 bag will go for decoration, and we're going to make those candied cranberries, and the second bag will be used for filling of cranberries. Okay, so the simple syrup cooked and got nice and thick, and I just turned off the heat, dump all my cranberries in there to get coated. Let them sit in that syrup for, 10-15 minutes, and then I just strain them all out on a parchment paper, preferably in a single layer because it will be easier for me to work on them later. So let them sit on this parchment paper for a good half an hour to 45 minutes to completely cool off. Remember, they're not cooked. They just coated in that super sweet syrupy water. And let them dry up a little bit and then sprinkle sugar all around. Make that festive look, pretending it's almost like snow-covered cranberries. Super, super festive and beautiful. It's going to look amazing on your holiday cake. So that's going to be our just decoration. That's all it is right now, is just for decoration. I'm trying to spread them out so they don't stick to each other very much, and they all have that beautiful looking kind of frost covered cranberries. Absolutely gorgeous to look on your cake. Everyone's gonna love it. I know my family absolutely love this cake. The candied cranberries are done. Set them aside and let them dry up. This even can be done the day before. That's perfectly fine. And they're going to look super, super beautiful. The second step is to make the cranberry filling. Yes, because we're going to be using a little bit of cranberry filling between all of the layers of Napoleon cake. It's going to look so, so beautiful. Everyone's going to be amazed. I know my family loves it. So, I take a bag of cranberries and some sugar, and then I put a little bit of splash of water, probably about 1/4 cup or so, and let that cook. Let that all become nicely cooked together. And I even use a masher, kind of like to break them up together. And let me tell you, this is going to turn this nice and thick jam. That's exactly what we want. I always flavor with a little bit of vanilla because it just brings another layer of flavor. About a teaspoon or so, but it really should be 2 taste. Why could I just take a teaspoon? I grabbed a tablespoon, realizing it's not what I really needed. And just mix everything together. I like to add vanilla after the cooking is done and the heat is off because I don't want it to cook it. I just want it to bring the flavor all together. Set that aside to cool. The next step is to make the filling with milk and butter and eggs. That's going to be like a custard filling. It's a classic filling for Napoleon cake. So again, I'm going to put all of the ingredients in a description box, so no worries. So right now, I'm just going to mix sugar with milk, and I'm gonna bring it to a boil. Just watch the stove. You don't want it to run all around your overboil everywhere and make a mess. So I'm gonna just bring it to a boil, and it's gonna be a first step in making the filling. There's so many methods of making this custard cream, but this is my method, and I find it to be the easiest. Sometimes the less fuss, the better it comes out. Okay, we're gonna need 10 egg yolks. I'm not kidding, 10. So I always save my egg whites for something else, but egg yolks, I set them aside, and I need 10 of them. It's going to take a while to break all of them. Look how bright yellow orange they are from our homegrown, from our own chickens. What a wonderful bunch of eggs. We love it. Then I'm going to mix with some sugar. Now, if you know Napoleon cake, it is not overly sweet cake. And the reason why it's not very sweet is because the layers are not sweet themselves, and neither is this cream. This is the time when you can make it sweeter yourself, but we really don't make it very sweet. So I added 6 tablespoons of flour because that's going to be the thickening agent of the cream. Okay, 6 tablespoons, and I'm just mixing it together. I got this brand new whisk. I think they called Swedish whisk or something like that. Look how cool it looks. So it's definitely a little different, but I'm loving it. It's cool looking. So I'm just mixing it together. It's going to be like a thick mass all together. And I am preparing the butter. Yes, I'm going to need butter, 1 stick of butter, which is about 8 tablespoons. And I'm just going to cut everything in chunks simply because later on it will be easy for me to mix it in. But it's really not a necessity. I just cut them into chunks. Now I'm watching my milk and sugar, and it's coming to a boil. I begin to see little bubbles everywhere. Watch it. You don't want it to run over because at this point, the milk is coming to a boil. We're going to start mixing it together with the egg. So see how it's coming to a boil? That is perfect. The heat is coming off. So let's mix it together. And I'm going to do in portions. I'm going to take a little bit of hot milk and I'm going to add to the egg mixture. And I'm going to do it slowly, whisking it slowly because we don't want to cook these eggs. Okay. We don't want scrambled eggs. We don't want parts of cooked egg floating in the milk. No, we want to do this slowly. So instead of putting everything into the boiled hot milk, no, we're going to be adding small amounts of hot milk into the egg, and gradually we're going to warm up the egg mixture until they become similar in temperature. Okay. It takes a little time, it takes a little patience, but it's actually fun. It's old school kind of making a custard cream. So I'm going to add little bit by little bit until I know my egg mixture is warmed up. Only at that point, it is actually safe to add into the milk and whisk everything together. Until then, friends, I don't recommend. You're going to get some scrambled eggs. All right. So now I healed them. Now I can whisk it all into the egg mixture, and it has to go back on a stove because we want to cook this egg and flour mixture now. Okay. Because we want a nice and rich and thick custard cream. That's what gives our Napoleon cake that amazing buttery taste. All right. So I'm going to stand right by my custard cream and I'm going to keep whisking it on low heat until everything cooks together and thickens up. Do not step away from the stove. I don't recommend. I will just keep on whisking it slowly, making sure that it's cooking beautifully. I'm seeing those bubbles. Guess what? It's cooking. And now I'm going to be adding that cut up butter, couple of chunks or a chunk at a time, making it nice and rich and creamy. We want this butter to melt right into this custard cream. And it's, like I said, it's such a rich and delicious cream for this cake. It is not overly sweet. You may taste this and decide that you want to make it sweeter. It is up to you, but I can tell you that custard for this cake is not very sweet. Okay. So guess what, guys? I think it's done. It's bubbling throughout. It's nicely cooked. It's nicely thick. Now I'm going to take it off the stove and I need to chill it. It needs to chill. So sometimes it's not a bad idea to actually make this cream the night before and chill it completely. You know what? It's also not a bad idea to add a little bit of vanilla in here. And I always add it after the cooking is done. Okay, the cream is chilling. Let's get this puff pastry going. If you like to learn how to make this dough for puff pastry from scratch, I have made a video about Napoleon cake a few years ago and where I show the full entire method of making this dough. It's not difficult. It's just time consuming. So I'll put up a link right now to the top. Click on it and you can watch that video. This time I've decided to cut little corners, save a little time, and actually roll out the dough using store-bought puff pastry. Okay, so If you know, this pastry that comes in those sheets is pretty thick, but Napoleon cake requires very, very thin crust. So from one square, I made 3 separate round circles for the shape of my cake. And I had to roll that out so thin. It has to be rolled out so thin that you can see the bottom of your table. So you can see the marble design from my table. That's how thin it has to be rolled out. Okay. And you can roll out to a square, to any shape you like, really. My cake is going to be a round cake. So I've decided to actually use the cake stand as my measurement. Look how thin it is. That's how thin I'm talking about. And roll it out and then cut to the shape of the cake. Now remember, this cake, while it's baking the sheets, they will shrink a little bit, okay? So this is why I'm cutting all the way to the edge. Eventually they'll become smaller. And I either use a fork or sharp part of the knife and just kind of make little cuts here and there because you don't want it to puff up. Even though it's a puff pastry, you don't puff up too much. Why? Because, you want even layers. Don't throw away that remaining dough around your circle. It's going to become needed later. Trust me. If you know Napoleon cake, you're going to need that extra dough. So I'm just keep rolling it out. It took me some time to roll everything out because we made so many layers. And you want to make 1 or 2 extra layers just in case they break. Why? Because they're so thin and so fragile. Okay, I'm going to bake them until they're golden brown at 400 degrees. Anywhere from 9 to 12 minutes. But like I said, every oven is different. So please watch your oven because you don't want to burn them. You want them to be golden to the color and nice and crisp. So we just set up for about 10 minutes and we're going to watch it. I'm continuing to make some decorations. I took some fresh rosemary, dipped it in that remaining syrup for a few minutes, and now I'm coating everything with sugar because we're going to make little Christmas trees. Why not? And they're going to be coated in snow. So that's just something, a little idea for decorating the cake. I think it's going to add a really nice touch. So let this all sit, rest, while my oven is baking. All right, look at them. Nicely done. We don't want to burn them, but we want them to be cooked all the way throughout. The oven is working. The custard cream is cooling. Everything is ready to go. Look at all these layers. Many layers, lots of layers. Okay, so we're going to start assembling everything now. Everything is ready. Like I said, do not throw away those extra pieces. They're going to become very, very useful later. All right. So Napoleon with the twist of cranberry for the holiday, the most delicious and festive cake is about to start taking place. All right, everything's ready. I have my beautiful cake stand. I always put a little bit of custard in the middle because that's what's going to keep my bottom layer at the bottom, okay, from shifting around. And if you have made any other messy kind of cakes before, you know that putting pieces of parchment paper all the way around in 4 pieces might be useful when you're decorating the cake. Okay, so this is my method. I put 4 pieces on each side, just like this. Okay, and the first layer goes on. Trust me, these pieces are not going to stay there forever. Okay, but they are going to be very useful right now. Well, one broke. It's okay. So I'm not going to use that broken piece. It's going to be used for something else. Layer 1 goes on. I kind of press it down a little bit because there were some bubbles that did puff up, and I just bring them down by crushing them a little bit. And the first layer is going to be filled with this beautiful, look how yellow it is. Those chickens really made a nice yellow custard cream for me. All right, so the first layer goes on. I'm going to spread it evenly because we want each layer to soak up as much of this cream as possible. Okay, and then remember that jam that I made? So we're going to be using a little bit, not much, okay? I'm going to spread it throughout. Trust me, it's going to be enough. It's going to cut beautifully on each slice. And so about 1 tablespoon or so on each layer is going to be added. And you just sprinkle it throughout. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to add a really nice, slightly tart, sweet, and beautiful color to your festive cake. I have many layers to go, and I mean many. That's the wonderful part of Napoleon cake. You can do 9 layers, you can do 12 layers, you can do 15 layers, you can do 19, 20 layers, as many layers as you want to. I think we ended up with 19 layers here, and I started getting tired. So my daughter stepped in to help, and she wanted to make this cake as well. So yes, Napoleon cake is a wonderful cake to serve on any holiday table, whether it is for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for New Year's, even for Easter. Beautiful, beautiful cake. So this cake is one of those nostalgic cakes that I remember from my childhood in the Soviet time. We used to make this cake. It's going to be decorated. It's going to be festive. So few layers to go until every layer is covered with custard and a little bit of that cranberry homemade jam. Okay, final layer. I'm just going to cover everything with remaining custard. Okay, make sure that it's covered everywhere, on the sides, on the top, everywhere. And it doesn't look very perfect right now. See what I mean? There are holes on the side, and you're going to be saying, Lilia, it looks funny. Don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it. It's going to be covered up, and it's going to look so beautiful, okay? Just make sure that it's semi-straight at the top. So you always keep the most straightest sheet or the layer left for the top, okay? Cover everything with the custard and see if you can add as much on the sides as well. It's going to become important that the sides are also sticky with that custard. So utilize a knife, a spatula, whatever you've got, because it's important that each side is covered with custard. Okay. So I'm just going to spread it all around. I have this cool little knife that sometimes I use for my cakes. Everywhere. So, I make sure that the sides, like I said, is also covered with custard. We have Christmas music playing right now, and that's the reason why I ended up doing voiceover, because I don't want to I don't want to get into trouble with the music playing on the background. Do you remember those extra pieces that were baking along with the crust? Well, now they're going to come to use. I like to put everything in a Ziploc bag, okay? Because it's going to be easier for me to turn it into crumble. That's right. So all of those pieces are nice and dry and crispy. They're fully baked, okay? And I like to use a rolling pin now to kind of like whack everything and create a crumble. So if you have some holiday frustrations, okay, stress and anxiety, this is how you get rid of your stress. You make crumble. That's right. You can whack the table right now with all of your frustration and turn those extra pieces into beautiful crumble. And it's going to be golden, beautiful crumble. Okay. That's what we need to do right now. Whether you roll it, whether you whack it, it doesn't really matter, but we need to make crumble. And all of the imperfections and all of the unevenness and all of those holes on the side will be covered up with the beautiful crumble that we just made. This is one of the reasons why we make that crumble. It's so needed right now. So the more crumble you have, the better. So that broken sheet that we did not end up using, it also went into this crumble. So now I'm going to cover generously on top. I'm going to cover everywhere in the bottom. And that is why I like to keep those extra sheets of parchment paper on each side, because that's what's going to keep my cake stand clean at the end. Keep on covering, girl. Each and every piece of crumble will go to use. And all of those imperfections will make your cake look so festive. It's almost like if it's covered with snow. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to make sure that it's covered up everywhere. Yep, that's right. Push it on and everything is covered. It's perfect. It's just the way we want it. If you like, this is a good time to take some powdered sugar and also sprinkle a little bit of powdered sugar on top. Why? Because these crusts were not sweet. Okay? The only sweetness in this cake right now is from the custard cream and from that cranberry that has slightly tart flavor. So this is why sometimes you will see people also use a little bit of sprinkling of powdered sugar on top, but it's really up to you. And now it's time to decorate. I love decorating cakes. I like to make it useful, okay? I like to decorate with things that's actually edible. Well, maybe not so much on rosemary. I don't think that's going to be very edible, but it's going to be festive. So I'm just going to add as much or as little right on top. Cover it up, make it nice and festive. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Doesn't it look all sugary and like all frosted? So all I'm going to do is just going to put a bunch of little pieces of rosemary. It's going to look like little Christmas trees. And look at that. Oh, I love it. See? Very pretty. Let's make this cake nice and festive. Christmas music is playing. We're having fun in the kitchen, a little dancing, a little laughing. That's what it's all about. Bring those old school, delicious, nostalgic recipes back to life. Bring it back. Enjoy this recipe. I hope you guys can make it for your families as well. And just bring a little joy into the holiday. So this is what it looks like when you cut it. Beautiful cake. So friends, be encouraged, enjoy this beautiful holiday season, and try something new.